This week, Democrats on the Senate and House Judiciary Committees ramped up their actions to hold Clarence Thomas accountable for his alleged ethical lapses. Senate Chairman Dick Durbin has asked Chief Justice John Roberts to testify before Congress on May 2nd regarding, quote, a steady stream of revelations regarding justices failing short of ethical standards. Just today, Durbin confirmed that Roberts has not yet responded to his invitation, instead referring the request to the Judicial Conference, which serves as the policymaking body of the federal courts. Also this week, Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse went one step further, requesting that the Judicial Conference refer Justice Thomas to the U.S. Attorney General for potential violations of the Ethics in Government Act of 1978. Congressman Johnson is a senior member of the House Judiciary Committee and the ranking member of the subcommittee overseeing federal courts, including the Supreme Court. He joins me now. Congressman, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Tell us about this request to the Judicial Conference. What is it about the Ethics in Government Act that you specifically want looked into?
Well, the Ethics in Government, and thank you, Ayman, for having me tonight. The Ethics in Government Act requires the reporting of gifts and hospitality, doesn't deal with or did not deal with travel as interpreted by the Judicial Conference until a clarification just over the last month or so. But at any rate, reporting requirements, and Justice Thomas has run roughshod over those reporting requirements. But even more important than failing to properly account and report and disclose the gifts, the luxurious hospitality, hotel, meals, lodging, transportation on a private jet and on a super yacht. In addition to not disclosing those things, I think it's more profound that he even accepted those gifts. For a Supreme Court justice to accept gifts and any kinds of expensive, lavish largesse from a person who has interests, business interests, and social interests before the court is wrong. He should never have brought this kind of dishonor to the Supreme Court by accepting gifts from somebody like Harlan Crow, a billionaire, dark money, social proponent of conservative issues that frequently appear before the court. And then Justice Thomas rules religiously and reliably in the way that Harlan Crow, the billionaire, advocates for. Is wrong. Right. It holds the court in dishonor. And for that reason, Justice Thomas, just correcting his financial reports is not good enough now. He needs to resign.
Yeah, it's not sufficient enough that he's just going back and revising this. Most of us would not be given that second chance. And yet, Senate Republicans, not surprisingly here, they are dismissing calls to hold hearings into Thomas. You've got Senator John Kennedy, who sits on the Judiciary Committee, saying he is not concerned about Thomas's ethics violations with GOP megadonor Harlan Crow. He says, quote, justices like senators, like reporters, are entitled to have friends. And here's the thing, Congressman, having friends isn't the problem here, though it is that, as you've just outlined, he failed to disclose that his friend is paying for his travel and real estate deals, right?
Well, he never should be taking these kinds of gifts from anybody, whether or not it's a friend or not. And by the way, it should be important to note that Clarence Thomas became friends with Harlan Crow a few years after he was put on the Supreme Court. I submit to you that Harlan Crow would not want to have anything to do with a guy like Clarence Thomas if Clarence Thomas were not in a position of authority and in a position to help him. And so while they both profess to be dear friends with each other, that's just code language that they use. The bottom line is Clarence Thomas has become used to taking these lavish vacations every year, every summer, using the airplane and the super yacht to get around the world, on $500,000 excursions on a regular basis. He's fat with privilege, and then he does the bidding of the person that's paying the bills. It's not right, and you should report it. Moreover, you should not put yourself in that position of being compromised. And so he is holding himself to a lesser ethical standard than lower court judges have to abide by. That's not right, especially for the highest court in the land to have no standards whatsoever. And that's why Senator Whitehouse and I have introduced the Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal, and Transparency Act, also known as the SCERT Act, that would force the United States Supreme Court to put forward a code of conduct. It would also strengthen those reporting requirements in the campaign finance, in the Ethics in Government Act. And it would also create a mechanism whereby ethical violations by Supreme Court justices could be heard by an independent panel and ruled upon. And if he's out of bounds, then the court would find, or then the committee would find that you are out of bounds, and they would recommend some kind of penalty. And so that's the kind of accountability that is needed for Supreme Court justices. At this point, they operate without public accountability. And as a result, we see the kind of corruption that has invaded the court with Clarence Thomas being Exhibit A and former Justice, departed Justice Scalia being Exhibit 2.
Yeah, I know you bring up a lot of really important points. And again, all eyes on Chief Justice John Roberts. This is his court at the moment, and it's crickets. So we'll see if he does respond to the letter that you sent and if he does take any action to try to bring some transparency to the court. Congressman Hank Johnson, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.